This is the Amp Hour Podcast, released July 22nd, 2018. Episode 400. Once every couple months.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
Thought I'd make a token appearance.
Yeah, why not? Well, once every couple months, we'll have you back, and we had you here for number 400, man. You had to have you here for that. So
thanks for inviting me on, Chris.
You're welcome. Welcome back, Dave. How you been?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I was just emailing with Mr. Kaiser. Yeah.
Ah, right.
Yeah, he's a tiki enthusiast, and there's a bunch of tiki bars in Chicago. So
Tiki?
we'll see. Yeah, like tiki, like Peloponnesian.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. What's that like? I
they're
don't
like
understand.
campy. They're like campy, like drinks with like little umbrellas in the drinks, those kind of things.
Ah, right. Okay.
Right.
It's just a themed
fake
bar,
grass
is it?
and right.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's some sort
Sorry,
of
Jeff. I don't mean
Polynesian.
to be spilling all your secrets here, but maybe that'll actually, if you know about any good tiki bars, Jeff's your enthusiast. So
It's a tiki bar enthusiast.
Mm-hmm. And I got to see him a while ago. That was great. Obviously, since you've been on, geez, it's been a couple shows, but
Yep.
I had a crap load of shows out in Seattle. So
Yes, I noticed.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, it was a kind of a captive community, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an island they couldn't get off,
Yeah, yeah. So you just went and shoved a microphone
right.
in their face.
Yeah, and not just me, Alvaro, who's also been on the show before, from the unnamed reverse engineering podcast. He did a couple shows too. And then I found out about another podcast called the Darknet Diaries.
Ooh.
That is, it's kind of like a story of like hackers, like what they're doing, I guess. I don't know.
Right. It's kind of the same as our podcast, except they record in like hoodies and dark sunglasses. Is that the?
I think it's actually a little bit more story focused. So it's actually got
Right.
like
Okay.
editing and
Oh,
story.
editing. Jeez.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it sounds cool though. So it's on my list.
Excellent.
Always on the lookout. But yeah, lots of great interviews so far, and more on the way, I'm sure. I'm hoping I'll be able to do that again at some point. Like sit at a conference and just talk to as many people as possible.
Right.
We'll see.
Cool.
Yeah, how you been?
Busy.
Yeah, what have you been up to?
Yeah, flat out with all sorts of crap. Life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what? You're supposed to explain that part.
No.
as an
that was
interviewer
kind of,
now.
I would have automatically jumped into shit. When I say that, it's like, well, don't
that's
ask
the
me.
personal stuff.
Got
it. Okay,
Right,
okay.
you should go. You should
Well,
do this.
I've seen some of the LCD stuff though. That's been interesting. You got your custom LCDs back.
We've actually had that for a while, but
Okay.
life got in the way.
Got it.
And
yeah.
And finally got around to doing a video, and it's $100. Finally got our massively expensive $100 custom LCD back.
100
And,
each or 100 for the total?
No, $100 for the 5, including tooling.
Oh, that's not bad.
What do you mean it's not bad? When
Well,
I was a boy,
Yeah.
come on, it's like, it's insanely cheap. It's practically free.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going the other direction. I thought you were saying that was expensive. So that's what I was trying.
No.
Yeah, okay,
See,
yeah.
because the LCDs have not reached the point where, like, the PCB market. I mean, there's no, as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no LCD manufacturers that are falling over themselves to produce one-off prototype
right.
LCDs. Like, there's no, proto-LCDonline.com,
Right, exactly.
Like,
Right.
it just doesn't exist. It's not a thing.
The demand's not there, right?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Not everyone needs a custom LCD, but everyone needs a custom PCB, right? So
Yep.
that's why the market sprung up for that. It started with PCB cart, although technically they weren't the first, but they were kind of one of the first online cheap ones where you just upload your files and it was all web-based. Before that you had to email off your Gerbers, you wait for the quote to come back via email, and then you manually PayPal, and this was like, you put your, it was shopping
And
cart,
hit upload, and exactly.
Yeah, hit upload, and here's your credit card, and boom, your PCBs magically come back,
Yeah. Yep.
That was, it just doesn't exist for LCDs. yet, of course, and there's no standard, there's no like Gerber standard for upload and stuff like that. Although, you can upload your drawing in AutoCAD format, which is usually what these companies are still using. Yeah, they're still using some, ancient format.
Yeah, but DXF that's what uses, that's like a lot of laser cutters take that too, right?
Right, so. Yeah, exactly.
It is funny how that stuff just kind of propagates along through time. Yeah, DXF is pretty rough.
But it's interesting. But, everyone made the argument, why don't you just use a dot matrix LCD? Yeah, well, we could, off the shelf one, but, it was just fun to design your own, and your product your product looks more professional. If it does that, and you're going to get a lower per unit cost by far. You can buy reasonably cheap dot matrix LCDs on AliExpress for $2 maybe, $2-3, but a custom LCD will cost you half that, And if you're making thousands, tens of thousands of things, every dollar you can shave off your BOM cost matters.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but that wasn't the overriding concern. It's
more the academic exercise of trying it out, showing how it works. That kind of thing.
And I thought, it might make a good video series, and it has. So
definitely, no, it's been good. It's been good. I was really surprised. Like I was like, oh yeah, there's a lot of pins on there, but you actually drive like each segment.
We drive
itself,
a lot of stuff. Well, no, it's a multiplex display. It uses 8 commons and 32 segments. It's a huge multiplex. I think there's 160 segments or something on there. It's absolutely enormous. Like it's got 4 separate 4-digit 7-segment displays.
Oh wow! Okay.
Plus a bar graph. It's it's one of the more complex LCDs you can get. So Then we ran into a few driver issues.
How is the? I saw that. How's the overall? How's the overall development going? Are you guys moving forward on the other stuff?
Oh yeah, it's slow. Yeah, it's coming together. But no, we're not going to do videos on it until we're finished.
Oh, yeah.
We're not going to make the same mistake as last time,
Right. Get that. Show it was done. Yeah. Let people bitch about it then.
Hey, there's a question. One of the more common questions on the video was, why aren't I releasing the name of the LCD manufacturer?
Oh. Is it because you don't want to get emails from all the other ones?
Right. No. It's because that's not their business. Like, I don't want people to get the impression that this company's business is like PCBs, and you can just order your 5 proto LCDs for $100, and
I see.
and they'll be happy about it. That's not their business model,
right?
Right.
This is like a lot of manufacturers are giving you it's basically a sample, right? I mean, that's kind of
it's totally a sample. That's what it is, and they're hoping for the bigger order. So imagine if I did a video saying, "Hey, look at this! You can order your 5 LCDs for $100 from this company. Go for it." They'd be flooded with like 1,000 emails.
Yep.
And I'm probably not kidding, right?
Sure.
Yeah, 1,000 people going, I want just 2 LCDs, please, because I need to replace the LCD in my old clock that I loved or my old calculator. Can you design this for me? And they'd just be, it'd just ruin them.
Yeah, that's a tough business. I mean, that's why a lot of the custom ones are, high cost. They got to make up their tooling, that kind of thing.
Yeah, this one was particularly low cost. We got many quotes. We searched around a lot to find this company, and they range from this one, which was $100, up to $500-600, something like that. It also depends on the quality of the documentation you give them, like the files, because not everyone's is going to give them a finished thing. Because not everyone's good at actually designing segments what they want. It isn't like a PCB, like the artistry matters, right? In an LCD, right? You've got to draw the correct segments. You've got to know about the spacing. You've got to know, it's not as, well honed as a PCB. Well, a PCB, you don't have to, as long as you meet the design rules, like the minimum track and space, you can do whatever the hell you want. That can be as ugly as anything. It's still going to work. Right.
Right. Well, I was going to bring up too. So Scotty from Strange Parts actually went and toured JLC PCB.
Yep, saw that.
You saw that video? Yeah, it was cool. I had actually
I haven't watched the whole thing. It was long.
I had never actually seen the inside of a PCB house before. Like, I mean, and that scale is pretty big.
Yep.
It's pretty nuts though.
Well, they advertise themselves as China's largest prototype house or something. or one of.
Yeah,
So
they're
they
pretty
have
big.
to be huge. Yeah.
Right. So they're one of many out there. There's many PCB Shopper is the one we always point people to, so they can go and check that out.
Yeah. And get a wide range of quotes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's like basically the bigger you get, the more you're going to get standardization and well, like you're saying, you're kind of talking more about the design process. So you're saying there's no like DRC for LCDs, anything like that.
No,
there's no infrastructure around it.
No. They do it at their end. They've got their own in-house tools, and every manufacturer's probably got their own different in-house tool for their LCDs to do their design rule checking.
I was doing some panelization. I was trying to. I was really struggling. I ended up giving up and having my board house panelized for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Right.
like so there's a tool in there's an open source
I've
tool.
got a video on that on how to panelize stuff.
Using what?
Well, Altium, of course, but it's not how
right.
to use the tool.
No, I know. Yeah, oh, you're talking about the DFM tutorial?
Yeah, but I've done another one. I did a follow up to that, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I mean, like the thing is, I needed the actual tool, and so like I'm not an Altium user, and KiCad like can do it, but it's not. I'm not a big fan of how it's done, and so I wanted to do it at the Gerber level,
Right. Well, no. Well, you can do it. I do it at the PCB level, right? I don't do it. I never touch Gerbers. It's not like I have a Gerber editor and do that sort of stuff.
Got it.
So.
So you can do it in KiCad. You can do an append thing, but then.
Okay, so it's got a tool.
Yes,
to
it
do
does.
panelize.
Yeah,
Right.
yes.
Okay. Right.
It's just a little bit janky, and this design was so big. I mean, like, so this is a 500 component design with artwork, with with actual like artwork, all this other stuff. So.
Yep.
It got my computer just went to molasses.
See, well, I've done it multiple ways in the past. I've actually used the panelization tool in Altium, which then whacks down the panels. Which copies a
it gives
source
you the
file.
outside and stuff like that.
Yeah, it actually it duplicates the PCBs, but then you manually draw in all the stuff around it. Your routing paths and your tool, your fiducials and your panel mounting holes and everything else. So you actually do it as a PCB file. But the actual tracks and everything else aren't in that file. It just copies them from another one, so you can ensure your duplicate. But I've also done it manually, and it works fine, where you just copy the entire PCB. You just select all PCB, Control C and Control V. Boom, paste it into your thing. Although that's a bit, there's more danger in doing that because you might accidentally forget to, highlight something. And doing a DRC on a panel is much more difficult,
right?
Because
exactly.
it doesn't, you almost can't, and you can do it like maybe at the Gerber stage and stuff like that, and that's what the manufacturers do. But yeah, once you sort of, it's a bit of a leap of faith. You've got to do a lot of manual checking to make sure it's right. So that's why I like the panelization tool, because it's copying. You trust the tool, and it's copying all the layers on your PCB right.
Yeah.
So. Especially
are you usually doing that with like square boards though too?
Oh no, I've done it with all sorts of weird ass shapes.
Yeah.
Yeah, works fine.
Definitely weird shape.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Yes, I've seen it.
Yes, you have. So I actually ended up I went and downloaded, what was the tool? Fab 3000. I have.
Okay.
It's like basically what a board house would buy.
Right.
And it's at the level where like it is a Gerber tool, but they don't quote the price on the website, so
of course they don't.
Yeah, that's a bad sign.
And they've got a demo, do they?
Yeah, you can do like a 30-day kind of thing. So.
Oh, okay, right.
Yeah,
and it's fully functional. They don't plaster their name over your Gerbers or something.
No, it's actually pretty. I mean, it's pretty nice. I mean, it's nice looking software. It's it's old school. It kind of looks like Mentor does. A lot of like command line type stuff.
Right.
So it's that era of tools, but it looks like it's pretty full featured, and it looks like what a fab house would actually be using.
Right.
So, there was another one too that was it's called "This Is Not Rocket Science." It's
nice.
and it's that's a nice little tool set as well. I think either because of the shape of my board or because it was like the last update I saw was from like, it's on GitHub with Python. You can actually download the source code and everything. And it was like I saw like 2.4, 2.5 in Python when they're on 2.7 if you're in Python 2, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So it was not working great for me. So I kind of gave up on that. Not saying it can't work. I'm just saying I couldn't get it to work. So that time. So.
Got it. So you needed penalisation for the assembly? Is that why?
No, well, yes, for the assembly, but I'm going to
because your board's reasonably big. It's not like you'd fit 50 of them on a panel. You'd fit like 4
That's
maybe, right?
Right. My board is quite big, and I'm going to be attempting the assembly myself using a Neoden 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
TBD.
Are you filming this process for a...
I am, yeah.
Right.
We'll see how that goes.
And this is at your local hackery space thing, right?
This is at MHub where I work out of. MHub is it's like a co-working space with hardware tools.
Yep.
So
cool. But it's mostly all the same part. I mean, it's basically spoiler, it's a micro
lot of LEDs.
It's micro with a lot of LEDs, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, that's the classic case for doing it yourself.
So I haven't talked about it much on here because, like, I honestly don't know if this thing's going to get out or work or anything like that. But I have been working on a badge, like a non-official badge for DEF CON. I think I did mention that at one point, but, like, it's at the point where it's like, okay, it's kind of like do or die at this point of if it's going to get out, and we'll see. I'm excited.
What's the backup plan? Just race off to an assembly house saying, sorry, I tried to do it myself and I just couldn't.
No. The backup plan is hopefully the art is nice enough that the PCB on its own is like, they're like, oh, look how pretty this is.
Here's your blank PCB
Here's your blank
badge.
PCB.
Yeah,
right. Isn't that great? I think I can get a couple to work. That's the main thing. I can get a couple to.
It's like a deconstruct. It's like one of those deconstructed meals. Oh, this is a deconstructed badge.
Right. Exactly. Right. First you'll have the beef by itself, then you'll have the tomato and the lettuce by itself. Yes.
Here's a bag of parts. It's a kit.
It's a kit. There we go. Ah, Dave, you solved it. Yes.
Bag of parts. Yeah. There you go.
I will actually. So speaking of kit, I actually will have a different thing as a kit. Just a little blinker, but I'm going to be doing a KiCad workshop.
I saw that
at the Hardware Hacking Village. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. It's more people, but did one at that conference I was at Tour Camp, and that went okay.
Are these available online? Did you film these, or did someone film them?
No.
Really?
They filmed them, but like I don't know, like workshop filming is terrible. I don't know,
right.
like there's, yeah. So
no, it's not easy to do. You've got to set it up. You've got to either do it properly or it's going to be half-assed.
Yeah, I think that if you want to see it online, it's just the getting to Blinky that I've done in the past. So
right, okay,
that's how you get started. Yep. So, anyways, cool, same thing. But I am looking forward to DEF CON. That's coming up in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a kit, folks.
It's going to be, yeah. Dave might be calling this one properly. Yeah, it's 3 weeks. 3 weeks from 3 weeks from tomorrow is the first day of DEF CON. So,
all right,
we'll see how that goes. But I mean, like, even if it doesn't work for that stuff or for the actual, a functional badge, I'm very interested in learning the Neoden 4 just for other prototyping stuff in the future. So it's been a really good learning experience. So yeah,
cool bananas.
Yeah. So looking forward to that.
All right, should we get on to our segments?
Sure.
I don't know. We don't.
What are our segments?
This shit. I don't know. I'm just looking at a teardown video at the moment.
Okay.
Which is a Scientology e-meter.
Oh, I haven't looked at that one yet. That's like one of the newer ones.
Oh, is it? Oh, yes, that's right. Yes, it is one of the newer models. Yeah. Someone promised to send me one once, and they never did. Oh, jeez, it's more complicated inside than I thought. Jeez. That's... Oh, man, look at all the 10-turn trimmers. I'm spoiling it for you, but...
Yeah.
Jeez, I expect... And green piece about... No, I expected, like, just point-to-point wiring and shit. I'm surprised it actually uses modern PCBs. I'm just,
I'm surprised you're capable of getting one without, like, getting sued, so...
Oh, no, the suing comes afterwards.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I don't know who's doing this. What's the YouTube channel? Play with Junk. Oh, I'm not aware of Play with Junk.
Yeah, nice.
There you go. And the first comment on the video. So this device measures midi-chlorians. Nice. Oh, it's got a microcontroller and everything.
Yeah, man.
Wow, I'm like, that's so different. Like I've actually looked at the pattern before, and this one uses a PIC micro, and yeah,
one of our listeners could have designed that thing.
Right, somebody got the contract. Oh man, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take your money. Here you go. It flicks the needle, you know.
Right, exactly. Right.
Flicks the needle in random ways based on.
And anyone who doesn't know what we're actually talking about here, just go look it up on Wikipedia or some reputable source, and we don't need to talk about it here.
Yeah. Then watch the documentary
Yes.
Going Clear.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And nuts.
Yeah. So actually, just to step back because it's tied to that workshop. KiCad 5 is on the way. I've said in the past, I'll say it again. Wait until Stable's out.
I know. I've had so many people email me, oh, the new KiCad's been released. Can you try it? Well, no, it hasn't.
It technically is not, and people yelled at me for posting it early. I watch the mailing list, so it's a little bit. I jumped the gun a little bit. So, yeah, it's should be good. You know, the thing that someone was asking about the other day. Is Eagle files are natively accepted now, so that's kind of interesting.
Sorry, yeah. So I didn't
because of the that Open Eagle format. So a lot more things will kind of be accessible now. I don't know if you can export back out to that, but the Eagle files are pretty easy to pull in now. So I think maybe even on 4 you might be able to, but I think it's gotten better in 5.
Can it pull Altium files in, or is that asking too much?
That's asking too much because the format's locked down.
Altium's not technically documented.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I really wish there was a what's that OBD format? There's like an in-between format thingy. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's like an open board.
The official XML format. I think that's the one you're talking about. The XML Eagle supports that natively.
That's what Eagle does. No, I'm talking about I thought it was an OBD something. I thought it was OBD++. No?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of Altium.
Yeah.
They're busted.
What? Busted for what?
They're busted, dude. They're busted crippling their products.
Oh. Is this surprising or what's?
Well, not really. I'm calling them out anyway.
So explain what's going on here.
Okay, I have a source that a very reliable source that says that Altium, the Circuitmaker I'm talking about, right? Not Altium Designer, because they don't cripple Altium Design.
Circuitmaker is the one that's the free one?
There's the free one, the free cloudy thing, right? Yep. Circuitmaker, from day one, they have crippled the software with a random sleep, for want of a better term, a random sleep timer, so that it kills the performance and makes the performance really shitty of Circuitmaker, so it doesn't eat into their other, so it makes it less productive, so to speak, right? Like it makes it annoying to use, so that you don't want to use this tool on a daily basis, right? So it won't compete with their paid tools, Altium Designer. Right.
Well, that seems like a bad policy, but
that's a pretty bad policy. It's pretty much as dumb as you can get. I can understand wanting to cripple the tool in some way, because you know, if it was just as easy to use and just as fast as Altium, then why would anyone pay for Altium, and then the company would go broke, right? But you've got to do it in different ways. Not
do it the old-fashioned way, folks. Come on.
Yeah, and. Anyway, Altium's official... they haven't replied officially, but Altium's... well, no, they kind of did. But apparently this has been known for quite... So Altium have actually admitted this way back, but in a roundabout sort of way, they said, look, if it gets over 5,000 parts or something, or 5,000 connections, so I guess 5,000 nets, right, then it will slow down. But apparently, no, that's not the case. This like does it all the time, and and it does weird shit like things disappear. You're dragging parts around and they suddenly disappear or they appear somewhere else and do other stuff. So apparently, this random sleep function, for want of a better term, has had side effects in the way the program operates, and just what appear to be bugs aren't. They're a side effect of this actual deliberate routine put into there. So I think that's just incredibly stupid, because the whole goal of Circuitmaker...
Right, it's a loss leader, right?
Yeah, is to have a free tool that people get used to and go, oh, I'm using this free, but now I'm a professional, I'm doing more professional boards. What am I going to use? Altium Designer, because I'm already familiar with Circuitmaker, right? But if Circuitmaker's so bad that it pisses you off, you're just going to go somewhere else.
I agree.
Right? It's just totally retarded.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Silly. Well, that
don't understand.
might bite them in the butts. So.
Anyway, yeah. There you go. Ridiculous. Speaking of which, Circuitmaker is no longer a thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was wondering if
no, because they bought Upverter. Yeah, they bought Upverter, and what's happening is that Upverter, they're going to continue with the Upverter brand, and Circuitmaker will be renamed Upverter Desktop, or because Upverter, for those who don't know, is an online web-based PCB tool. So it works via the web. There is no program on your computer, right? It's a web-based thing. But
are they going to be different though?
What do you mean? Yes, they're going to have Upverter Online, which is the standard Upverter, and then they're going to have Upverter Desktop, which you can run without an internet connection, and that's going to be a rebadged Circuitmaker. So, yeah. Because Circuitmaker does operate offline, by the way.
Yeah, right.
Circuitmaker, like, it's cloud-based, but it's not a web-based program. It just uses the web. It needs the web, but you can use it without it. You can, like, disconnect and work locally.
Right, it's like a check-in. It's like a call, phone home.
Check-in, phone home kind of, yeah. Yep. So, yeah, it's not going to be called that anymore. So, yeah, anyway. And I've heard that the Upverter folk know about this, and they're fighting hard to get this shit removed from the desktop version.
Great.
Yep.
Awesome.
Anyway, there you go. Breaking news.
Yeah. You know what else is breaking news?
What?
KiCad's free and open source, so bring it on.
What?
That's not breaking news at all. I'm just saying that, like, all this stuff that you described, it's unnecessary.
KiCad 3. We were just talking about 5.
I said free and open source.
Free. Oh, I thought you said 5. 3. I thought you said 3. Right.
Yep. Yeah. Well, speaking of 3, CircuitPython 3 was released.
But it can't do penalisation.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So CircuitPython 3 is out.
What's CircuitPython 3? I don't...
So CircuitPython was the... so we've talked about that a little bit on here before. MicroPython was a Python-based thing that goes onto microcontrollers. And then Adafruit took that, and then specifically for the Atmel SAMD family, started compiling it for that. It changed the name. It was a little bit more hardware-focused. And
right, so it's just Python that runs on their platform or whatever, is it?
It's kind of like more specific to the chipset, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not Python. See, when you said that, I thought, Python for doing circuits, like for doing. Oh,
I see. Because we were talking about that. Because we were talking about board level stuff.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, but they're supporting NRF 52. So that's kind of a big deal.
Cool.
So that's great. Yeah. Code stuff.
Nah.
Yeah. I like it. I'm working on a new board with MicroPython on an STM32. So it's exciting. What else did I see on here? I guess we haven't really talked about this yet. There's some tariff stuff going on. There's a lot of...
I have not followed that at all. I have no idea give us the TLDL.
TLDR is
TLDR thing. Yeah, so
too long didn't read, or I guess actually in this case it would be TLDL because it'd be too long didn't listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically the Trump administration decided to put 25% tariff on a bunch of electronic components and manufacturing equipment and other stuff. And
did they deliberately target those, or were they just swept up in a bigger
there is other stuff in there, but
Right.
electronics is definitely one of the big focal points.
Okay, so
there's also like a lot of construction
targeted.
equipment, things like that. I think the electronics stuff. So there's a story about that I actually did not know about. Where did it go? There was a story about the theft of IP from Micron. Micron?
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna find it now.
Yeah, which is are they an American? Technically an American.
Yeah, they were based out of Boise, Idaho.
Right.
Maybe not Boise, but it's definitely Idaho.
Yep.
And I think they maybe in Oregon as well. But they are a DRAM manufacturer, and basically there was a huge here we go. Inside the heist of American chip designs as China bids for power. There's a New York Times article that we'll link in there. And so this is part of it, but I think some of it is just generally trade deficit stuff. Oh, sorry.
Right.
Did I say Micron? Or did I say something else? I said Micron, right?
Yes, you said Micron.
Yeah, right. And so, and they were big on like new process technologies, things like that as well. I mean, like a lot of the DRAM,
they've been leading.
DRAM makers, flash makers, you have to kind of lead the edge because that's all you really have. You know, like the some of the circuit stuff changes, but it's not like, you know, it's basically your bulk storage. So the better you are at process, the more you can move ahead and kind of, and it's about like investment and where you're doing, where you're adding your money. So if you lose some of your IP, it can be dangerous from a investment standpoint. Anywho,
so
yeah.
So the takeaway, the actual TLDR, is that the government's has put 25% on components, and is it actual finished products or it's just parts?
It's some of it is finished goods, but like things like manufacturing equipment. So that would be more targeted towards. So like that Neoden 4 that I talked about, right?
Right.
That's a pick and place machine. And I had a friend who said he was buying one because he had been looking at one, and then he basically saved $2,500 by ordering it before the July 6th date. So and obviously we are behind the curve here, right? So we're recording on the 18th here, so we're at least 2 weeks past where that happened.
Right. So it's in force now. So everything just got 25% more expensive if you're importing it.
Not everything. There's weird stuff on like diodes.
But let's just say, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Everything. Right.
Well, and what I will do is I'll point people at Macrofab. So Chris Church from Macrofab, he wrote an article about it, and then he also went on episode 127 of the Macrofab Engineering Podcast and talked about it more, and had a good kind of discussion around some of the stuff that is or isn't hit. And you know, basically his thing is it's not everything, so you should really get your BOM coded again. And then he walks through some of the things that are hitting it. Obviously, if you're outside the country, it doesn't really matter that much. I'm not sure, though.
Well, I was going to say, what's the standard workaround for this? Do you physically fly to Shenzhen with an empty bag, fill up your bag with reels of parts, and come back? Is that the workaround?
I don't think that's a workaround. I think that's called smuggling. But you get to make like all these like cool like Han Solo references, I guess, you know?
All right.
If you have your hairy friend come with you, he's like, "Rrrr."
Yeah, but wouldn't this just, like, if it's just parts, wouldn't this, and not so much finished goods, wouldn't this just accelerate the thing to get them all manufactured in China and have and imported as a finished product?
That is an excellent point, and also one that Bunny made. So Bunny Huang, past guest of the Amp Hour, wrote an article basically about how this will promote offshoring.
And I was going to say, because when onshoring is happening, is a thing, it's been cheap because China's getting more expensive. People don't know, there's this trend of what's called onshoring, where companies, we're talking basically US here, but other companies, countries it's happening, where they're now, you know, they used to, 10 years ago, they moved everything to China because it was dirt cheap. to get it made. Now wages are going up in China, so they're going, oh, we can actually get it made cheaper and control it, well, for the same price, and control the quality better and everything else if we bring it back
and
to
control
the US.
IP and control
everything else.
Control
and
the
they're faster
chain,
turnaround, and we can just walk next door to the factory, you know. So they've been onshoring, they've been bringing all their manufacturing back to the US, and now that may reverse again because of this. So,
I am very much not a fan of this. I personally haven't seen what the ultimate impact will be. I mean, like, so I'm actually working on a manufacturing project right now, and I will be hopefully making some content around that too, though, like actually getting quotes and trying to do apples to apples comparisons. It's tough, right? Like, because like the comparisons are really tough too, especially if you're not, you know, if you're not making thousands of unit, right? You might have just the added costs of low volume.
Does this mean that Mouser and DigiKey, US catalog suppliers, are instantly 25% more expensive because they get most of their parts from China?
Right. That's the thing I am not sure about. And Parker on the Macrofab Engineering podcast.
If it's not, then what's the point? Like, you know, then people just go to DigiKey and Mouser as they always have for their 100 off volume.
Right.
You know?
Well, and I think it's a question of, like, I'm guessing the formulas will change, but it's a matter of how much they'll change. Like, will they eat some of it or not? You know, some of that stuff is loss leader anyways, right? So some of it's their overhead of someone walking up, cutting some off the reel and putting it in a baggie, putting it down the line, right? But like, but their base level costs, which they buy in the hundreds of thousands probably at a time, right? Multiple boxes of reels, right? So it's I think it's going to be people that are doing full scale manufacturing specifically in the US are going to be hit the hardest, I think.
Right. But margins aren't as high as you might think on some of those parts, because when I'm buying reels of parts, often I go straight to the manufacturer, like straight to the manufacturer's website, the chip manufacturer's website. Right, I want a reel of 5,000 parts. It's going to cost me, say, $5,000. I go to DigiKey. It's practically the same cost.
Yeah,
right?
Well, they have like distribution agreements, but so, I mean, and basically, so like, let's talk about that, right? So you have a reel of 5,000 parts from like Microchip, because they do a lot of Microchip Direct, right?
Right.
So you go in there and you're buying a reel of, like, I don't know, op amps. If you buy it from Microchip Direct, basically they're eating that margin difference too, because they want to offer it at the same. They want to make everybody wants to inch the prices up as much as they can, DigiKey included and Microchip Direct included, right? They're trying to price match as high as they can, because they all want to make margin where they, you know, you take it where you can get it, basically. So I think that's really where that comes from.
Yeah, but the fact is, you can't get it any cheaper often than DigiKey or Mouser. Like, try as hard as you might, you physically can't get it any cheaper, regardless of where you go. Unless you go to some, you know, dodgy market stall in Shenzhen, and they might have an old reel somewhere which could be dodgy as hell, you know. But
so I'm not quite sure what you're saying, though. Like, so are you saying?
Well, what I'm saying is that if DigiKey and Mouser aren't increasing their prices, then what's the problem, really? Because often you can't,
I don't know if they
what
are.
I'm saying is that you can't get them cheaper.
Right. I think that I think they will. I mean, honestly, I think they will.
Okay.
And I think that they'll only raise them as much as the market will bear, right? I think that there's enough volume in the marketplace that people that the companies are pretty well balanced.
And would they do it by stealth? It's not like they're going to make this huge press announcement because of unless they want to make a political point, you know, like we have to increase our prices 20% now.
Right.
Blame Trump, you know, like
right.
All that.
Yeah, I don't know. So like that's what I'm saying. Like I am not ordering parts on a regular enough basis to actually see the effect of this, and so I'm weirdly looking forward to it. Like I just want to kind of see it, like, and do a comparison. Like, you know, you kind of need like a historical charting of pricing. But the other thing too is, like, there's a lot of other things in there, right? So caps alone have been going up like crazy, and commodities level components have been going up just because of shortage issues. So is it a shortage thing, or is it the tariff thing? Those are actually, so caps actually are being imposed the tariffs on.
No,
right?
but that shortage thing's been going on for a long time.
Right,
so,
but prices keep creeping up because people they've been buying, exactly. They're buying up all the stock though. So I'm just saying that's like from me as an individual, it's difficult for me to decode these things right now. Because I'm also not buying in volume all the time. So like what I'm saying is that I think our listening audience, unless they're doing manufacturing at a high volume and working with buyers internally in their company, and they happen to be a U.S. company, and it's chips and everything else that they're doing, you know what I mean? Like all of these things, I think is ultimately going to be a negative thing, but hopefully by the time it becomes a negative thing for me, the tariffs go away. I don't know, but that's what I'm hoping. And I will be investigating for myself. I'm curious though, like Parker was talking about, you have to actually figure out where the parts come from. You have to buy the reel and look on the reel and see what the country of origin is.
Yep.
I always wondered, like all the chip packaging is like in China or Philippines or, you know what I mean? Like there's stuff all over the place.
Oh yeah, it's like often the die, the die is made in Taiwan
I used to make silicon in Austin, and it would fly. It would literally fly to China, get packaged, fly back to Austin. Right? Sometimes not. Sometimes we go to China. Sometimes we go. You know what I mean? It's just like
it's nuts. Yeah.
Global supply, and honestly, that is why I am very much against this. Is just because putting more crap in the way of global trade is a bad thing for me. I think that's there is no way to avoid global trade, in my opinion, and so that's my tiny political statement for today. I'm curious for you though too, because like people like you and people who are in Canada and even Europe, right? They're all buying from DigiKey and Mouser and like these big distributor houses who are in the U.S. So then what? You know?
I know. Yeah, I would. I don't know. If the prices suddenly went up 20%, I'd be ordering from. Well, then like. The problem is a lot of these companies are technically US companies. If I order from Microchip Direct, for example, they're a US company, even though the stock might come from Asia. It might be made in Asia. It might never go through the US, right? It might never, land on US soil, yet we might still get charged a 20% tariff because they're a US company.
Right, exactly. And I think that at the end of the day, that's why it's just like, this is a whole bunch of BS, and it's like, everything's getting more expensive, and that sucks. And I don't like that, so.
I would, what I would love to see is for the companies like DigiKey and Mouser to come out and say, this is a tariff-affected item.
Yeah,
that's
a good point.
And you're paying 20% more, so you know.
Right.
In fact, I think it's probably in their best interest, because to do that. Maybe even on an individual part basis, if they could do it.
Yeah, maybe.
Like in the result when you search for your parts on DigiKey, right? It'll have a little
flag,
a little Trump face or something, that says tariff, right? It's.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because then it reflects badly on them, because you suddenly see all these DigiKey and Mouser prices going up. Oh, DigiKey used to be cheap, and now it's like, and you don't know why. Joe Average is not following the politics on this shit. Right.
So
they just see the bottom line.
I'm on a capacitor page. I'll link you to it, but I'm on a DigiKey capacitor page. Pretty common Murata 100 puff cap, right? 25 volt and C0G. It said, it's 0.1 cents for one, right? But like I said, one is a lot different than buying 500 or 1,000 or 5,000 or multiple reels, right? So I really think that a lot of that's going to come at the real point, right? So at a 5,000, or maybe the reel's 10,000. Here we go. So here's the real price. So this is a reel 15,000 because it's an 0201. $33 for an 0201 15,000 reel thing. I'm not usually buying 0201, so this is a bad example. No. But at the top, it says current market demand for these products have resulted in fluctuating and extending lead times. Right. So that is more the shortage thing.
Yeah, but that's not tariff. That's not tariff,
right?
Nah, it's got nothing to do with it.
So I'd say, like, for people listening, like, expect some shit right now. It's
right.
It's bad. It's how much? And again, like, this is what Chris and Parker and Steven were talking about. At the end of the day, it's like, will your end product go up 25%? They said probably not, but it's probably going up. And I think that's really what people should expect, is like prices are going up. And so, yeah. Yeah. And if there's any supply chain managers listening right now, I don't envy you. I've never envied you actually, but that's real tough. So, yeah, good luck.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Well done, America.
Well, yeah, right. Right. Yep.
All right. What else we got?
How about something happier? This is actually really fun. I don't know how new or old this is, but the NAND game on so it's like the 10th link on my Reddit right now. NAND game. Basically, you start with NAND gates, and you have to build up everything else, right? So you have to build up an inverter, and then an AND gate, and then an OR gate, and an XOR, half adder, full adder, like all the way down. And basically, it's just a click and drag, and you just hook things together.
All right.
It's really cool. I mean, like I think this is a great learning tool. I mean, we've talked in the past about like understanding. Like, I think this is more. This is a little bit more interactive than instead of just looking at a individual.
Right.
Like I remember saying like, why does someone need to build that huge CPU? You remember that one? The guy that built that.
Right. Yes, of course. Yeah.
And
no, because
it was
fun.
cool. We knew it was cool, but do people need to understand this stuff? But I think that some of this stuff is almost at the silicon level, or I was just full of crap before, anyways. I don't know.
It's not.
Either way,
it's at the
I
gate
like this
level.
thing. Yeah.
Which is a very different thing. Like a NAND gate is like 4 to 6 transistors. It's not.
Yeah. Right. Right. Well, yeah, and most logic is built up from NAND gates, right? So this is kind of just showing how you piece things together.
No, technically NAND, you can do it with NOR as well.
Yes, right.
This
I'm just saying
exact game could be done as the NOR game.
They could be an NOR game, right? And maybe there's, I don't know, maybe there's another version here somewhere. I'm just saying that most of the time these days it is NAND based, right?
I wouldn't say that.
Okay. I thought it was.
Say that. No.
Okay. Then I'm wrong. I don't know.
Okay.
So either way, this is a good one to it's just like basically building up logic and things like that. Actually, I saw it today as well. This is a little bit off tangent, but Zachtronics, former guest Zach, what's Zach's last name?
Hogan?
Zach Barth of Zachtronics. So he was on the show back on episode 332. I'll link that in. Basically, Zachtronics is moving up the stack, and they have a new game that came out today. It's like basically you have to go and hack. There's still a lot of logic level puzzles and stuff, but there's a new one called Exapunks. And what is the tagline? Read zines, write viruses, hack everything.
They're killing that niche. They're killing
They really are. Yeah, it is super niche too. It's crazy.
It's great.
Yeah,
love it.
So yeah, there's a new game if you're a Steam person, and I think it was just announced actually. I don't think it's out yet.
Oh, it's on Steam, is it? It's one of those.
Right. That's
I
a Valve.
have no idea about that.
Well, Steam's just like the marketplace for Valve.
Yeah, I know.
So
yeah. But isn't it a company specific? It's Valve, right?
It is Valve. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Right. But this is a game now where you're writing code.
Oh, right. So Steam. So you can put your own game on Steam, can you?
Yes. Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Right. So it's it's like an indie market. Well, it's a big company marketplace and an indie marketplace.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like you're like controlling robots though, and you're like you have a bunch of like logic and like code that you're writing to control robots. I don't quite get it. I didn't quite get Shenzhen IO. You and I actually ended up playing Shenzhen IO eventually. I don't know how much you played. How much did you play of that?
Oh, not much.
No, yeah.
But it's just so cool though.
It was fun. I was very worried. I think I told Zach I get addicted to video games, so I don't really play them very often.
Yeah,
but,
well, that was the fear for me. I didn't want to
be
wasting the day away. Yeah,
right.
Playing this game.
Right.
Yep.
Right. You play that. You play that forum game instead.
Yeah, I do. But at least it's productive to my business.
Right. At least there's content coming out of it. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
No, I wasted many a year playing games.
Oh yeah, what was your game back in the day?
Oh, you'd play the original, Duke Nukem. I'm talking like the platform Duke Nukem, and then Duke Nukem 3D, and then you'd play the original Castle Wolfenstein, and then and before that it was all DOS-based games, BBS-based games. You'd dial in to play other people. Back then it was the only way to play with other people.
Right.
There was no internet. You dialed into a BBS and you played BBS games.
Is that like Zork or what?
Oh, there were there were no, it wasn't Zork.
I guess Zork was on like directly on the computer, right?
It was. Yeah,
Commodore
no, it wasn't a BBS. As far as I know, there was no BBS version of that. God, I can't remember now. They were like, adventure-based, turn-based adventure games. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
similar
like D&D.
sort of thing. Yep.
Got it.
Yeah, and that's how you played other people, And
Nice.
yep.
Yeah, man.
You played the 4 other people that were logged into the BBS, like
Right.
yeah, because the guy only had 4 phone lines coming into his house, so
Right.
and then they boot you off after half an hour because to give everyone a fair go.
Yep. Nice.
It's great. Anyway,
That's great, man.
those were the days.
Cool. So what else is? Oh, man, we have like a lot of. I'm trying to like go back and see when's the last time we talked. So we talked like 4 or 5 weeks ago.
Like something like that.
More than that, probably even. I guess
Maybe.
I was at. The last one was 396.
Meh. Who cares?
Yeah.
Does it matter? What's your
No,
point?
sorry, it doesn't matter. I'm just trying to see. There's other links here that we didn't cover yet.
Right.
I think a lot of this stuff we probably have covered at some point. PCB mode. Haven't heard that one in a while. That's SAR from Boldport.
What's this? Why I can't yet teach engineering in ASL? What's that?
That's Mel. So Mel Chua is a friend of a friend, and she is a engineering professor who is also deaf. And basically, it was actually a really interesting conversation. Her and I really jive on engineering education stuff. But Mel brought up this great point about like, kind of like shared vocabulary around electronics, right? And so I think about that like, well, if you don't know, kind of like that whole idea of like, if you don't know what to Google for, you're kind of in a hard spot. And she's like, well, it actually goes deeper than that though. If you don't, so she signs, right? ASL is American Sign Language. And there just aren't words in that language, right? So like when they developed ASL, why would they have words about resistors and all those other things?
Yeah, no.
And so she writes about that a lot, and it's really interesting because it's kind of like when you're trying to make electronics more.
Yeah, but she can't teach in sign language anyway.
Yes, she can.
Right? Yeah, but how does your average student understand sign language?
Well, they're deaf, Dave. I mean, like they're.
Oh, there. Right. So she's only teaching deaf students.
She's teaching engineering to deaf students. Right.
I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
That's very different.
Yeah,
right.
Of course, right. But like that's the idea too of like, so if you think about making electronics more accessible in general, or just engineering more accessible, you need to have the right vocabulary for it. And so she writes about a lot of that stuff of, how do you explain something to someone when you don't have words for things, right? So we've been talking.
You know what I'd do? I just figure I'd know what I'd do. In that case.
Well, Dave just decided. Just solved the problem in 5 seconds. Here we go.
Solved the problem. Obviously, I just solved the problem.
Okay,
I would have physical like parts and hold them up, or I'd have like cardboard cutouts of parts and go, and just hold them up, or there'd be or I'd have some app which showed a photo of the part so everyone knows what you're talking about. This capacitor here, and then capacitor would show up, or
Right, but
I don't know.
Okay, so
we'd have.
How do you explain like current? Like, how do you explain voltage and current when there are no words for voltage and current?
Yeah,
like those terms on their own are difficult, right? So people that are listening, and that's why I just think it's so. Like that's why I love talking to Mel about this stuff, and it's just so. Unfortunately, we can't have her on the show because we can't do the. So maybe if I can do it in video at some point, we can. She can read lips, and she's a great teacher though. And it's just this kind of like discussion around, and I really suggest people subscribe to her blog. She's a great writer too.
Well,
it's just like that idea of like education and
hang
pedagogy, and what she later told me teaching adults is andragogy. I think I actually mentioned that on the show. That was Mel. So,
but hang on, doesn't it come down to the same problem as regular words? Like, how would you say pencil, for example? Like isn't it the same thing? Like, how do you explain other concepts? It's not just engineering, right?
Of course.
How do you explain the flow of water? How do you explain, isn't it the same process? So wouldn't the solution for those be the same as for engineering?
I think so. I mean, like I agree with that, but I think what the idea there is that the amount of time it takes to get to that same point is
right.
significantly
Oh no, of course
longer.
it's massive. Yeah. I can imagine, but the solution would obviously be the same. So if you crack the solution for this, you crack the solution for a greater, for almost everything to do with deaf sign language learning, right?
Maybe, but I think it's well, I'm not sure. I honestly, I highly recommend people read Mel's blog. She's thinking about that a lot.
It'd be the same for mechanical engineering. It'd be the same for science. How do you describe molecule? How do you describe atom? How do you describe?
Sure. No. I totally agree with that piece. Yeah, I think that.
Right.
I mean, like aside from Mel, I don't know many engineers who are hearing impaired or deaf. So like. And I think that's a lot of the piece of it.
only ones I know are the ones who learnt before they became
right,
deaf.
exactly. So if it became an accessibility issue after the fact, right?
Yep.
Right? No, I totally agree. So, so I mean, like, I think it's a very interesting problem space, and I think Mel's very smart.
Oh, that's seriously, hard not to crack, I think.
Yeah. No, I think, but like, even just the discussion around the education piece, kind of. That tickles my brain because I like how do you teach people remotely is like one of the ones I do, right?
Wouldn't this be the classic example of the best way to do it is from top down? It's like wire things up and show that the LED turns on, right? And then, whoa, look, LED turns on and their mind's going, light turns on. Like how does this, and then you, I don't know, wave your hand around the circuit and go, comes this way and that way, and like to teach it from the bottom up. Here's an electron. Let's explain. Like it'd be like I don't think you'd be able to do it.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Whereas
I will take it back to my so my plan for and I think I might have mentioned this at one point, but my plan for I actually had a lot of trouble when I was teaching KiCad at the tour camp. It did not go well.
Why? Because everyone was drunk instead of deaf?
No. It's because there's just so much stuff there. Like, so some people, I was asked like, does everybody do electronics? Some people said no, and so it's like, okay, so we're doing this thing.
They just wandered by and decided to sit down and listen to you, and then you've got this massively wide
So aside from the fact that the software is not the friendliest in the first place and difficult to install and all these other things, right? So my solution, and actually Pietra was helping me, Peter, from Blackmagic Probe and One Bitsy and former guest. So what we're gonna do though, we're gonna do it again, and we're gonna go backwards. And so the idea is going to be we're going to start from a PCB, and so they'll have a PCB, and they're not going to be able to there will be a soldering area outside, but the first thing you do is you solder up a board, right, and make it blank.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you do is you take an unconnected board, right, a board with parts that are already populated, and it's just got rat's nests, and you just connect all the pins, right? And then the next thing you do is you go and you then import all the parts from the already footprints that are there. And then the next thing you do is, you know what I mean? Like, so going backwards instead of going forwards because it's tough, right? So people listening are probably like, yeah, it's when there's not like that level of, when you don't have the background, everything kind of looks like a problem, right? And you don't know that you should be doing A, B, and C in order to move forward. Everything just looks like oh crap, what do I do? And so instead you kind of deconstruct it like you're talking about, top down, and you start from the end and you make one thing work, right? So like you make one thing work and then you kind of dig under the hood and you make the next thing work and then you dig under the hood and right? So we'll see if that works. I don't know.
Groovy.
Yeah. Learning.
After all these years.
Yeah.
Oh dear. All right. We're almost out of time.
Yeah.
Any last things?
No. Let's see. There's stuff on here about ESP32s. There's a new DARPA thing. I don't know I didn't read enough about that. Yeah. Some LoRa stuff.
Yeah.
Op amps. Oh, Super Conference is coming up. So if people are interested in going, so that's the one that I go to in LA that I helped start a couple years ago. The Hackaday Super Conference is November 2nd and 3rd. There's a call for proposal. So I'll definitely be at that if people are interested in going.
So that didn't collapse into a heap when you
didn't
left.
die without me. It turns out I'm not very special. So that's good.
you weren't needed.
Hey, man, that's great. That's good. I knew the other people were doing a lot more work than me. Yeah.
Yep. Cool bananas.
What about this smear site? Do you see this thing?
No.
So ARM had a anti-risk V smear site.
What?
Yeah, so
I don't understand.
It was called riskv-basics.com, and they basically was registered by ARM, and they talked about why there's better choices over the Risk 5 or Risk V, I guess. So that's the new format processor that's out there, and I'm guessing they see it as competition, and so they kind of put out some. It's really about the instruction set, right? It's not actually a full architecture; it's just the instruction set. But there are now processors that are being developed around that instruction set that are not ARM based and they're not x86 based. They're
right. Who does Risk V?
So one of the ones is Sci5 is one of the ones, but there's a lot of others. So former guest Clifford Wolf has designed one as well.
Right.
So there's like, it runs a gamut from tiny one to Sci5 has like a really big one.
Oh, because it's an open license.
So it's an open instruction set, and then they all kind of work within that, right?
Right. Because ARM, the problem with ARM is that they don't make their own chips. They make their money selling licenses.
They're an IP house, right? Exactly.
They're an IP house, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it'll be. I mean, so we heard about that. When we first heard about it, we actually had no idea what we were talking about. Something different, folks. And we were since corrected, and then I got to see some of that stuff at... those guys were at... the Sci5 folks were doing an announcement at that Brussels conference I was at. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I think it's going to be very interesting over the next couple of years to see what people are doing. And I'm guessing eventually ARM will jump into this too. It's just in terms of existing IP and lock-in.
What do you mean, jumping this into like an open version of their architecture?
I think that eventually companies, they eventually jump into open architectures, right? So like Microsoft is now supporting Unix-based stuff, which is like crazy. Mm-hmm. But it took them many, many, many years, but they're starting to do that stuff because it's...
Well, it's like Altium coming out with a free version.
Exactly.
It's like,
Right. So eventually it's a marketing tool, but I think it actually does turn the tide. So we'll see if ARM eventually goes towards it as well, but I think they like being in charge, right? ARM is monstrous.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess for now that was just a little bit of silliness, right? It shows that I think what it shows is that they feel threatened. So that's an interesting start.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll be back next week. I don't know who we'll have on the show next week, but I'm going to start preparing interviews for when I'm gone because I'll be at DEF CON and then on vacation. So
cool.
We'll have stuff coming up.
Excellent. Because I'm hopeless at, doing that shit.
I wouldn't say
basically,
hopeless. I'd say
happen.
distracted. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's good catching up with you, buddy. It's been real.
It's been real for the last 9 years or something, hasn't it?
8 years, yeah. 8 years next month.
8 years. Yeah.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Catch you next time.